Hey guys, welcome to the second part of the interview with Casey Rojas. I think especially the second half of the interview has a lot of helpful information. It talks more about kind of what Casey looks for in an applicant. It talks about the Biomedical Science Careers program, which is a very helpful program. And it also talks about asking for help, what teachers like to see in students, things like that. If you watch the whole thing, you're gonna get a lot out of it, but if you're in a rush, I think the most important part is probably at 1640, and that's when he talks about what he looks for in an applicant, which connects to knowing who you are, knowing your story. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but basically, yeah, what he looks for in an applicant, what's important to come out in an application. So make sure you check that part out.
And so, kind of related to field work and getting into field work, how would you say that students should go about maybe seeking these internships? Like maybe if you're a professor who's getting an email from a student who's seeking an internship in your lab, like what types of things would you be looking for in that email that would get them accepted or get them an opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a great question, a very difficult question because different people look for different things. When I review applications for the program that I teach in, I try to find someone who understands who they are, um, and is going to be someone who brings their true, genuine self to the program. And I think that's valuable because I don't want people around me to be searching for who they are at all times. Of course, when you're young, you're still thinking about who you could become or what you might be 10 years from now. You're in school and you think, oh, I'm going to be a doctor in 10 years, or I'm going to be a lawyer in my case in 10 years, and then I'm going to do XYZ, which is great. Of course, you need to have ambition, you need to have aspirations, and you need to have goals to work toward. But at the same time, it's very important not to lose sight of who you are so that you can be the best doctor, lawyer, astronaut, police officer, whoever it is. Um, and I think that is very important to come through in an application, is that someone who understands their journey to where they are now and has a plan for their future and understands how whatever they're applying for is going to contribute to their trajectory, while at the same time they understand what they can offer to the program, to the school, or to whatever it is. Because I think a lot of times when I evaluate applications, I think of this as a two-way road. Of course, our program can offer great education, but I want to know what each student brings to the table as well. And so that's why I think you really need to be yourself in your
Mm,
applications, because
mhm,
I'll tell you what, you look at a lot of these applications, you get straight A's, you get all the same extracurriculars, you get a few publications. A lot of them
mhm,
start to blend together. But one thing that you have that can differentiate yourself is yourself. And I think that's one of the
mm,
things I always tell my students is the easiest way to make yourself stand out is to be yourself.
mm.
And if you do that confidently and genuinely, then your application will certainly jump out of the page. So I think that's probably my best advice for what to do when thinking about trying to apply for a program or a course of study.
Yeah. So if someone's outreaching you, for example, like in an email, maybe not trying to sound all scientific, maybe pretending that you know all this stuff, all of these things, maybe all of these terms, because you think that'll up your chances of maybe, yeah, getting an opportunity, just yeah, being yourself, showing genuine interest. I think that's really valuable. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's spot on. You don't want to just throw a bunch of buzzwords in there because you know they're used in the field, right? Be real. Just
Yeah.
be real. And I think that goes a long way.
Mm, thank you. So kind of talking about collaborations and things like that. Have you seen collaborations at Harvard or in general in academic institutions or industry and maybe with community, maybe contributing to encouraging more diversity in the field or just in general getting young people into science?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier the Biomedical Science Careers program, which is a fantastic organization that does exactly this and tries to reach out to students who might be interested in STEM careers or STEM education, and provides opportunity to connect with leading scholars in the field, leading CEOs even in the field, and educational programs that can get them to where they want to go. And I think this is exactly the sort of like community level outreach and engagement that we need to really help diversify the field in general, because opportunity is not always equal, right? And we need to do what we can to provide more equitable grounding for people to have that equal opportunity, because opportunity doesn't present itself the same to everyone. So the Biomedical Science Careers program is a way to sort of uh, provide those opportunities that might not otherwise be seen, and connect students to great mentors, and scholarship that can help them achieve their dreams, really. And I think that is one program that I've seen that is very successful and is ever growing, continues to expand, and continues to touch a lot of students' lives. And I think that's fantastic. But that is just one. Of course, there's many others, but I think I'll leave it with that, and say that that is a great model for community outreach to students.
Could you give an example maybe of someone who you've seen join the Biomedical Science Careers program who maybe like started off a certain way, like how they were in the beginning and then how they ended maybe when they graduated from that program?
Yeah, so I guess there's no real end to the Biomedical Science Careers
Yeah.
program.
Mm.
That's the best part about it is
Mm.
students come in, and some of them come with a certain need, and if that need is a mentor, these mentor there are mentors available, and mentors can connect them to networks of scholars who can help with their research or their studying, can help get them published. It's all these sort of like difficult avenues toward what I'll say in quotes success, right? You think you get published, oh, that's a great success, and it is, right?
Mm.
But there's a lot of work that goes into that, a lot of behind the scenes work of knowing who to contact and knowing who to join teams with in order to get your name on a paper in the end. So when you say to an example of someone who starts to where they ended, I would say it's any number of students in the program, and I will say I don't think there is an end. We see year after year students coming back and showing where they are now, and the sky is the limit. Really, it's amazing to see how successful and accomplished many of these students are, and it really just goes to show you that opportunity, when offered and when given and when presented to students from any background, is all it takes to really get people to the next level of accomplishment and achievement. And so it's really a great program to see people uh, from high school all the way through college, medical school, whatever it might be, reach all of their goals.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Kind of, we were talking about like success, so I kind of wanted to like lead us kind of like to talk about success. So like what would you say like success is, and like maybe could you like define someone who you would consider successful?
Yeah, so that's a very difficult question, right? There's so
Yeah.
many different ways to be successful. And I guess it really boils down to what your values are.
Mm.
And there's different values, value and goal values, like what you want to accomplish and be. Is it, do you want to be happy? Do you want to be independent? Do you want to be financially secure, physically secure? What are your end goal values? And then the instrumental values as well. Is how do you want to go about working toward those terminal values? Do you want to do it out of love? Do you want to do it out of a desire for independence or autonomy, or for family, whatever it might be? There's these two separate types of goals one about how you're doing things, and one about what you want to achieve at the end. So success is really an individual situation. And there are many exercises you can do to try to figure out what your true core values are. But I think self-reflection is a very important part of that. So if we're talking about achieving success, I think the most important step in achieving success, whatever that might mean to you, is to reflect on yourself at every step of the way. Try to figure out what you want to be accomplishing, how you want to go about accomplishing that, what you're willing to sometimes sacrifice for that success, whatever that means to you. So for me, I would say success is largely driven by my desire for um, happiness, just internal happiness. But of course, that sounds very selfish, right? But the thing is, I know to me that my happiness does not come at other people's expense. My happiness does not get maximized if other people's happiness is anything less than what it was before whatever action I take. So for me, everything that I do, I want to do out of love, because I think my actions, when done from love, only bring happiness to me and to those around me. And so for me, success is doing what I know brings
Mm.
brings happiness, not just to me, but to those around me. I think one of the ways of going about that is through love.
Right. And if you have those intentions, I kind of feel like there's really no way that you can lose. Like, for example, like in the biomedical like science careers program, someone might think like, oh, like success in this program would be like getting my name on a paper. But like, for example, even if you come out of that program and maybe you don't have your name on that paper, you would have still like learned valuable skills, maybe like of networking and things like that, right? So that's kind of like comparing those like two perspectives of like what success is, but like it's important to know that success isn't just like what everyone thinks of, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. Success isn't making, hundreds of thousands of dollars and driving a very fancy car and wearing brand name clothing. Like, sure, that can be success, right? That is sometimes a proxy for success. But that in itself is certainly not success. And I mean, we're in this holiday season where you'll see a million movies out there about people who have achieved that success, right? That stereotype of success, but don't have that internal harmony, and have isolated themselves in many ways. And
Mm,
I think this is the perfect message for this time of year. And it really sounds cheesy, but that is true. It is absolutely true that I think success can only be defined by yourself and your own goals. And I think figuring out the way that society shapes how you understand success is an important part of maturing and understanding
mm.
oneself.
Thank you. So kind of like rooting us with like something else. So what strategies or habits did you develop early on, do you think, to help you like succeed professionally and academically?
I think the most important thing is being able to ask questions.
Mm,
And not always questions that are just about information, but questions about uh, questions out of your own curiosity, right? And perhaps the most important question of all is asking someone to help you. I
mm,
think that is really undervalued. People are probably more often than not willing to help others out, especially when it comes to education. If you're talking about your teachers or mentors or tutors, people are here because we want to help. We want to teach. We want to people to learn. We want to make connections so that we can help people try to achieve their success. So it's very important to understand that people want to help. So the question to ask is, can you help me? And it's a hard question because lots of times you're out here, you're trying to achieve, and in at least where I'm from, you're told you can do that independently, right? That your life is what you make it, right? That's what we hear a lot of times, and so it feels like lots of times the pressure is on you and only you to succeed, and only you are the one who can make your life a success. But that's not the case. It's really not. And
Mm-hmm.
so breaking that down and getting yourself to a place where you're willing to ask for help is a very important step in learning how to best navigate the world. Really, no one's going to expect you to be an expert on everything. Although it might seem like that, right? Especially in high school when you have classes ranging from
Mm.
foreign language to AP physics, right? Things that are so very different. You have to take all of the classes, right? You have to take all of the things and you have to get A
Mm.
all of the things. Um, but that's the only place in the world where anyone expects you to be learning all of these things all at once. And even then, nobody expects you to be straight A student in all of it, right? And it
Mm.
don't have to be. But what you have to do is be able to identify situations or aspects that you need help on, um, and that comes from understanding yourself. Again, this kind of goes back to how you have to know who you are and how you're progressing through life in order to be able to say, I need help with X, Y, or Z. And then the next part, which is more of a skill, is understanding who to ask and then how to ask. So there's kind of three steps into asking for help, right? But the very first part is understanding that it's okay to ask for help, and it's very important to as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think that's really important. So, kind of stemming to something not related at all.
Sure.
So, if you had, what purchase of $100 that you've made in the last 6 months has been like the most like beneficial or like useful to you?
Um, so the most useful purchase of $100 or less in the past couple months, that's a really difficult question because as we spoke about briefly earlier, I'm in the midst of planning a wedding. So lots of money has been spent on a lot of things that are not necessarily useful. But I will say a purchase of Canva was quite helpful. I don't know if you know what Canva is, but it's kind of like it's a computer program that can help you design things, right? And for
Mhm.
me, it's designing, say, seating charts or invitations, um, or any number of things that a wedding requires. And also, it's very helpful for school as well. If you're ever
Mhm.
designing posters, I direct a lot of my students to Canva. Um, to study or to produce their year end posters for their projects. So as far as utility goes, I think Canva has gone a long way in the past couple months and has been a pretty minimal expense. So I would highly recommend that if you're ever trying to design a sign or an invitation or anything of the sort.
Perfect. Thank you. And also something kind of like not related, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So you mentioned to me before that when you were like taking a break from law, you traveled to Europe. So you traveled around Europe. So what do you say is like the craziest or maybe like best experience you had traveling around Europe?
Yeah, so craziest and best can sometimes align, but I don't think they align in this instance. I'll start with the craziest. I think was I landed in Barcelona and
Hmm.
in Spain and realized I had forgot to book a hotel or a room or an Airbnb or anything, and I didn't land until pretty late. It was probably like 6 p.m. or so local time, and I had to find somewhere to sleep. And and so I ended up staying on a boat that night, and the owner of the boat ended up being a great friend. He fed me dinner and he took me out on a bike and we rode bikes around Barcelona at probably, I don't know, 11 p.m. or so, which I don't know if you've ever been there, is not the latest time of day, to be honest. So it was a wild experience where I just met a stranger. Well, I booked the boat on the Airbnb. It was like the only thing I could afford at that time, and then met the owner of the boat. Met that stranger, became friends throughout the night. Ended up going out and going to some clubs with him that night, and met some of his friends, and just met so many people. And it really showed me that, like, um, if you put your most genuine foot forward, and that was one of the things I realized on this trip, is if I am myself, then I'm going to find people who I get along with real well, because I was traveling alone at the time. And in that instance especially, I was very much myself, and it just happened that we aligned real well, and got to be good friends in the short 48 hours I was there with him. So it was great to see the city through his eyes as well, traveling around on bikes and going to places I never would have gone, because they don't pop up on the TripAdvisor lists of places to go in Barcelona. So that was one of the crazier ones for sure, and honestly, it would be one of the best ones as well. But there are so many great places to travel and see, and good food to eat, good music to listen to, great art to view. And then my favorite thing, frankly, is just to go somewhere and sit and kind of feel what the city or that neighborhood is really like. It's so easy to be caught up in the tourist traps, and the convenience of places that speak your language, right? So sometimes it's hard to become less of a tourist and more of a traveler. But that's, I think, my best experiences, no matter where it's been. I've traveled to many different countries around the world, but my best experiences are always those where I feel like I am seeing the world or that neighborhood through the eyes of someone who lives there, while at the same time seeing it as someone who's never been there before, like me. So reconciling that difference is my best travel experience, sitting there and at once experiencing a place in two separate ways. So much so that after I took that trip to Europe, I came back home and I hopped on a tour bus of my own town. And at the time, I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I hopped on a tour bus because I was like, wait, I have seen Pittsburgh as someone who lives here. Now I want to see it as a tourist. And again, have that experience of experiencing a place, a neighborhood, a town, both as a tourist and as a local. And I think when I can align those, it's a great experience. So even if you don't get the opportunity to go to a new country, take a tour around your hometown and view it in a different way. And I think that's exceptionally valuable, to get new perspectives on places known and unknown.
Perfect. Well, Casey, thank you so much for all your insight. And I loved that story. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank
Thanks
you
for having
so
me.
much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Of
It's great
course.
talking with you.
Great talking to you too. And congratulations on your wedding.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So that was the second part of the interview with Casey Rojas. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys checked out 1640 because that was definitely the most important part. Make sure to like and subscribe. Look for Issa's takeaways because that's where I'm going to be kind of like analyzing a bunch of the stuff he just said and like adding more to that. And I'm also going to make sure to link the whole interview down below if you want to see the whole thing and not this like 2 chunks. So yeah, I have the link down below and bye.